So, when did counseling stop being about problem solving? Well, not anymore. Introducing solution-focused counseling with the unlicensed counselor. And now, here's your host, Steve Moak.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of The Unlicensed Counselor. My name is Steve Moak. I am the Unlicensed Counselor. As always, so grateful to be here. And that is even more applicable today, as today's topic, we're going to talk about gratitude, right? You know, and it's not an accident that I start these shows kind of always saying that same thing, so grateful to be here, because it really is a practice that I am trying to incorporate more and more into my life, and I'm getting better at. But today I want to talk about ways that we can think about it, incorporate it, how to kind of bring a little sense and feeling of gratitude into our life, and why that's important, right? Because it's not just a joke when I say it. And I was even talking to the folks here before I started. It's like sometimes I feel even cheesy when I do it, but I'm like, I have to kind of practice it and keep saying it and keep doing it till I really almost start believing it. But I think it's that important and something that we could all be incorporating more into our life, because I just think the benefits, and given social media and all the other pressures and things, I just think it's so important to kind of remember the things that we have and be grateful for those. But before we get into all of that fun stuff, and I do really think it's a fun, and I'm excited to talk about this today as well too, I want to always say thanks and am grateful for our sponsors as well too. And number one, our friends at ShareTech. Go to betterdrugtest.com. Look, you've heard me talk about it. This is the only drug and alcohol test that you should be using. It's quantitative. It's performed by a lab. It cannot be cheated. It tests for the most substances. It tells you the levels of all the things that are within that individual system, right? And then you get a secure report sent to you. This is the drug test that you'll want to be using for your loved one. Look, you're going to be making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 decisions on inpatient, outpatient, sober living. Do you want to chance that to an Amazon $30, $40, pee in a cup test and hope that strip that was made wherever it was is accurate and gives you the information that you need? So go to betterdrugtest.com. Trust me, when you need to know, there's only one place to go, and that's to ShareTech. And again, as always, big thanks to our friends at ShareTech out there as well, too. Easy Sheets, my favorite little sponsor as well, too. I want to see some more folks start signing up for this subscription. It's the most comfortable subscription that you can sign up for. Starts at $50. We're going to send you a professionally clean, pressed set of sheets. You just take the old ones, put them in a prepaid bag, drop them off, they get sent back. You're going to love it. It's comfy, it's cozy, it's relaxing. You're going to get compliments on your sheets. You can change them seasonally. You can change the color. And I'll tell you, one of the things I didn't really realize, like just the changing of the color of your sheets kind of within your room almost creates a different ambiance or environment within it. So it's just kind of fun to play with. You want to go from white to gray to blue to black or whatever it is that suits your fancy, or red maybe for February and Valentine's Day, or who knows, go crazy. Have some fun with it. Go to EasySheets.club. They've been a great sponsor. Really like just a fun service that. And think about it for those college kids. They're probably not washing their sheets as much. I know everybody's going back to school right now. Think about those folks. Maybe you want to sign them up for subscriptions so they're at least getting washed once or twice a month as well too. So thanks again to our friends at EasySheets.club. As always, again, my whole thing is being the unlicensed counselor, solution-focused counseling. Go to my website, theunlicenssedcounselor.com, if you want to book some time one-on-one with me. Encourage you to do it. Happy to do it. Really like the times where I do get to spend a little one-on-one time with folks as we dig into topics a little bit deeper, and maybe kind of get to problem-solving, solution-focused type counseling a little bit quicker than maybe your traditional counseling route as well, too. And again, I've teased this the last couple of episodes. I co-founded a nonprofit organization. It's called the Coalition for Youth Drug Abuse Prevention. I am big on youth drug prevention. We can keep building more treatment centers, more outpatient, more beds, more and we're just going to fill it up. We've got to start doing something sooner, and that's why my friends and I and this team has created the Coalition for Youth Drug Abuse Prevention. Follow us at Hard Stop on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the usual places. We're creating some extremely compelling content, and we're just getting started. So we're going to be rolling out some big marketing, nationwide type campaigns. Get in with us. We're going to need your support. We're going to need you to kind of share our videos. Go to Hard Stop. That's the name of our campaign. You're going to find some of that really kind of edgy, raw, bold kind of prevention messaging coming from our organization. Excited to share that with you, and hopefully you can share that with others. So Thanks again for all our sponsors, and appreciate you kind of going with us on the journey. Got the numbers back again from Worldwide Studios here, and they're going up. That's good, right? We're not taking over the world yet, but 1,000-mile journey takes one step. You know what I mean. All right, I botched that, but I don't care. Let's get back to the topic du jour. Let's talk a little bit about gratitude, right? So before I even dig in, I was going through, occasionally I like to start the show with like a quote, and I saw this one from Eckhart Tolle, and it was around gratitude. And the quote is, "Acknowledging the good that you already have in your life is the foundation for all abundance." And I was like, okay, I feel like that would be a great way to kind of set the tone for what I want to talk about today. Cultivating gratitude really is almost a skill, right? Like any other skill that you need to do. I mean, if you wanted to be a blacksmith or shoe horses or something like that, you have to go and practice and learn the tricks and tools of the trade in order to perform that skill. It takes effort, it takes repetition, and it takes kind of a consistent refocusing and coming back to it. And today I just wanted to go over on how are some ways, steps to become more grateful so that you can start, because again, in the Unlicensed Counselor, kind of the theme of what I like to do here is kind of solution-focused counseling, kind of bite-sized pieces of actionable things that you can listen here today and go, all right, I like that idea, and try them and put it into play when you're driving home from your job and going to see your kids or over dinner or something like that. So I'm just going to go through, this is kind of, and again, my list isn't exhaustive. You can have your own list. Put together your own list. These are ideas and suggestions that I've implemented in my own life that steal, take, borrow. If you don't like them, go on Instagram and yell and come up with your new ones. Tell me about them. I think it's cool. Maybe I'll talk about them next week, right? But the first thing is start small, right? By acknowledging the small things that you're grateful for, right? And these are things that are probably like a lot of people may think of in gratitude. It could be a sunset. Here in Arizona, we have just beautiful sunsets, right? I was just in Park City, Utah last week with my daughter and family, my brother and his kids, and there were some just kind of rainy, overcast days. I went for a walk and a run, and I saw this little creek that was just kind of coming down, and it was just those little moments and snapshots where I literally was like, this is awesome. I actually texted a girlfriend of mine. I'm like, because we had been having a conversation around gratitude, and I was like, man, I think I'm just grateful for kind of nature right now. I'm just in this beautiful little spot. And I physically stopped and almost took like a little mental snapshot and tried to just be present in that moment and kind of feel what it felt like, because I knew when I get back here, I've got work, I've got kids, the school starting, my daughter starting preschool, I got all the other million things, but it's like, if I can just, mentally take little snapshots in my head of like the little things that I'm grateful for, I found that for me, it just brings a little sense of calm and relief. I can kind of let the shoulders down, take a little sigh and breathe. Recognizing those things can just start to get you into a mindset of gratitude, which is where I'd ultimately like to see us kind of land, is just always having that mindset. But as you work your way toward that, I think it's important to just kind of start small, taking these little pictures of things that you could be grateful for. It could be a great meal. It could be a really cool conversation that you have. It could be your kids, obviously. It could be your dog. Whatever it is, think about it, be cognizant of it, be present, and kind of start to file that away. And again, on our journey to kind of that more appreciative, grateful kind of mindset. So the next thing I was thinking of is just, being more aware, being more mindful, right? How can we pay attention and be present in that moment and focus on what we have versus what we don't have or what we lack, right? And that practice of mindfulness can really help you become more attuned to the positive things that are going on in your life. It is so easy, and I know social media is the scapegoat for everything that's wrong in the world, but to kind of, they have this and I don't have that, right? And it just sucks you out of that being present and kind of that appreciation and that gratefulness. So it's really, how can we, and it's okay if your mind kind of goes there, but how can we bring it back? And then as you continue this practice, those instances of how far it drifts to what you're lacking, and how quickly you can pull it back in and focus on the things that you do have with that foundation of abundance that quote kind of talked about. I just think that's a way that we want to kind of go a little bit more and start focusing on what you have and the things that are going on and the positive and the good in your life. And then I really want to make that more of a daily gratitude practice as well too. And I think a good way to kind of help, we'll call it newbie gratefulnessers, right? We'll go with that word for right now, is set aside a time in the day. Put it in a calendar. I'm a big calendar guy. If it's on my phone, it's in the calendar. I'm going to do it. I never miss it, right? So set a specific time each day to reflect on the things that you're grateful for, right? You could keep a gratitude journal. I'm sure you've probably heard that. There are now gratitude apps. Or simply just take a few minutes and reflect and think about the positive things that are going on in your life. You could write a list down. Just have it dedicated some point in that day. Is just going to bring you back to that. And again, once you get into the habit of this thing, the goal is to kind of always try and be in that mindset. But as you work your way to that, have a dedicated time. It could be first thing in the morning, at lunch by yourself, at night, in the car, whatever it is, you find what works for you. But see if we can start to incorporate kind of an actual mental really just gratitude practice. It doesn't have to be, earth-shattering or anything like that. The next thing I was thinking about is how can we shift perspective? And this is especially so when you are facing challenges, right? So sometimes it's relatively easy when things are going all right to just be grateful, right? And be like, you're happy, you're on vacation, your kids and friends and family and health and these types of things. But there's going to be times where things are going to get a little bumpy, right? You may lose your job, divorce, your kids get in trouble at school, finances are tough, whatever that the case may be. How can we shift our perspective to one of gratefulness, right? So if you're able to kind of reframe them as a potential opportunity for growth or learning, and by the way, this is taking a lot of practice and effort for me, is kind of flipping my brain and like, crap, I'm pissed, I'm angry. How did this happen? Why did I let it happen? All those types of things too. Now I'm in a difficult situation. What in this situation can I be grateful for, right? How can I support someone else? How can I build some resilience? What is this to learn? What's in this to learn from me? How can I use this experience and change myself, grow, not repeat? Instead of staying stuck in that thing that is challenging and really kind of messing with your mind, how can you shift your perspective in that? This one takes time and effort and practice, right? Time, effort, and practice. But if you start just doing it little by little, I think that you'll find once you're into these challenging situations and you're able to kind of take a step back, and maybe that is what it takes, is just taking a pause, take a step back and go, what was that crazy unlicensed counselor guy? What did he say? Okay, how can I think about this differently? How can I reframe the situation that I'm in now to find something grateful to come out of this, right? Easier said than done, but try it. Start small, try it. See what you can find. Play with some examples. See just how your mind works, and then try and find ways to kind of incorporate this, right? Next up, I was thinking about, how to limit comparisons, right? So again, back to the social media thing as well. The constant comparison of me versus everybody else out there in the world. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy, dissatisfaction, anger. Focus on your own journey in the achievements that you have and be grateful for the progress that you've made. You don't need to be out there looking to see what everybody else has. Could be fake, probably is. They're not showing you all the other downsides in their life. Try and tune that out, and let's focus on how you've become who you are, how you overcame some adversity, the opportunities that you have coming down the pipeline, and then think about how grateful you are to be where you're at now. I am sure, I think about this often. It's like, would I want to trade places with other people? You never know what other people crap they have going on in their lives as well too. And I'm just like, I'm lucky to be who I am, the journeys and experiences that have brought me to this point haven't always been easy in my world, but I'm grateful that I've got to go through them, because now I can sit here and share experiences with others and hopefully make an impact in other folks' lives. But I really try and not compare myself to others as well, too. So something to keep in mind in a very comparison-heavy world that's out there. They're on this trip or they're on that, and they're flying this way and I'm staying at that. I mean, it all just is so easy to get sucked into that world. And I think this is one that would be worthwhile probably having a conversation with middle and high school kids as well, too. Because I just think we see so many celebrities and YouTubers and influencers and things like that, and we just see that. And kids are, sitting at home going, I don't have this. And it's just that feeling, and you start to get down on yourself. So really kind of talking about this, and then talking about it from the angle of gratitude and about the good things that they have going in their life, I think it would be worthwhile. Again, we're kind of starting the school year up again. So these are good times to kind of kick off interesting conversations, themes, and topics, and maybe revisit quarterly when the report card comes home or whatever it is. Next up on the list I was thinking about is, how do we practice generosity, right? So engaging in acts of giving and kindness. When you help others, you're likely to experience a sense of gratitude for the ability to make a positive impact on someone else's life, right? So that one's taken a long time for me to do. I came from a very self-centered world. Again, in active addiction and alcoholism and things like that, like you're very self-centered, right? So as I'm, 9 years removed from all of that stuff and continue to practice generosity. And that's not just in the act of giving money or donating to charities. I think it's the kindness that you kind of give to people, right? Whether that's a server when you're out at a restaurant, or picking up some trash or things like that, and doing things maybe when no one else is looking and not looking for the credit in those types of things as well. I think that when you start to be more generous with your time in different ways, that's ultimately going to help you, and it kind of make you feel more grateful about who you are and kind of where you're at in life. And I think it's a really important one. And I think that it can make positive impacts and kind of be a good role model for others in your life as well, too. So really practicing generosity and kind of giving and kindness. I'm really trying to focus on the kindness thing as well, too. Next up on my list was the gratitude and adversity, right? So I've had a lot of adversity in my life. I'm not saying mine is the most adversity in anyone's life. There's certainly people with many more challenges than I've had. And candidly, most of mine have been my own doing as well, too. And I fully admit that. That doesn't mean that my adversity doesn't feel shame, stress, anger, resentment, and all those things, even though it may be at different scales, right? So during these challenging times, how am I able to seek out kind of the silver linings or lessons to be learned from these situations? Now, I'm not talking about ignoring the difficulties, but really finding reasons to be grateful in spite of all of those things that are going on in the adversity. And this is a big shift for me, and I'm much better at this in my life of when things, again, coming off of, a divorce and things like that. And by all measures, our divorce was reasonably amicable and things along as these things go. It still doesn't mean that it wasn't an extremely hard time emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of that stuff. So, what am I going to do? I've got choices. This is the things that are going through my head as I'm going through this. It's like, do you just sulk and be mad and, be angry and, just kind of not take any action to improve yourself, or experience those things, feel them, understand that where you're at is totally normal, and then try and shift your brain into what can I take from this? How can I be better for my next relationship? How can I not repeat the old patterns of behavior that maybe helped lead me into this, right? What can I do? And I started to think about those things, and I started to try and find some of the silver linings. It's like, okay, I learned a lot of lessons, as I was going through that. And now I want to be better prepared going into my next relationship in finding who I am and how I want to be, and maybe asking tougher questions up front and getting more clear on the things that I want and who I want to be with and who I am and things like that. So it's like, and by the way, that took 6, 8, 9 months. So that wasn't like over a weekend. It's like, okay, gratitude and adversity, got it, I'm through it. No, this was like, it sucked for a while, but you kept digging in. I kept digging in. What is there to learn? What can I take away from this? How can I do this differently? How can I be better? What is the work that I need to do in order to not do this again? And there was a lot of stuff, and I think I've talked about it in some previous episodes as well too. So, but trying to find really some gratitude in that. And that's a tough one, and it took a long time, but it's really been a complete shift. And now I'm able to apply, because I feel like that was a really, really hard time in my life. So now I can apply that into, I still have hard things that come up, but they maybe aren't as taxing as that. But I'm like, okay, I'm frustrated with this, that, or the other thing. And it's like, okay, well, let's take that same principle and apply it here and see what the silver lining is and start thinking about things in a different way or look at them from a different perspective. And ultimately, that's leading me to be healthier and healthier in my own life that I found, right? Next one is something that I'm a big believer on, just all around, is surrounding yourself with positivity. And that's positive people too, right? So spend time with people who uplift you and create a positive environment. Surrounding yourself with positivity can naturally foster feelings of gratitude. 100% yes. And I was reading a book or a piece or a report the other day, and it's like, you are who you surround yourself with, right? So it's like, hang around 5 smokers, you're going to be the 6th smoker, right? Hang around 5 people who run ultra marathons and you're going to be the 6th ultra marathon. It's just who you associate with is ultimately who you're probably going to be shaped by. And the same thing goes with the positivity and the gratitude. I mean, if you are around people who are just constantly negative, view the world through a glass half full kind of lens and things like that. And I feel like this may divide down some political lines. I'm not trying to go there, but who you are and who you choose to be around and those people's kind of how they view the world will rub off on you significantly, positive or negatively, right? And if you've heard me talk in some of my previous episodes, I'm just not big on kind of that victim mentality and things like that. So really putting people in your life that have interesting things to say, they challenge you, they want to help you succeed, they are rooting for you, they communicate that with you on a regular basis. Like, that's the people that I want to have in my corner so that I can continue to reinforce that kind of mindset as I go out into the world. And I think that's really important in finding those people in your life. And I also think the converse of this is true also. It's like lopping off, cutting off, distancing yourself from the people who don't have that, right? So if you've got a bunch of people in your life that are regularly down or negative and kind of, that stuff wears on you. It's exhausting. And I've intentionally started to put a little time and distance between myself and other folks who are starting to kind of behave that way in the world. I've seen it in some older folks and things like that as well too. And I'm like, I get where you're at a different stage in life, but come on. Like, there's still reason to wake up and seize the day and attack it. And, there's a lot of good that's out there in the world at whatever stage you're at. And so really, and that's just a mindset, right? That's just people with a certain type of mindset. And that's what I'm attracted to. That's the people that I want to hang around because I want to continue to kind of feed off that and be better in myself. Another couple things just on the gratitude thoughts are visual reminders, right? So what if you can place something around your office, your home, your living space, your workspace? Could be quotes, could be images, could be pictures, could be items from a trip, whatever it is, the screensaver on your phone. Find some little things that kind of bring you back into that place, even when things are kind of going crazy over the course of the day. Again, school's starting back. I was at Meet the Teacher this morning. We got drop off. We got, it's a lot of kind of pulling in a lot of different directions, but it's like I keep my little screensaver on my phone of a picture of my daughter and I, and it's just like, you can look at that and you just, you can't help but smile, right? You just can't help it. It's like, yeah, that was cool, and it kind of brings you back. Maybe you bought a trinket when you're at Hawaii and you have it set on your desk, and that reminds you of that beautiful day and that beautiful sunset, and you were just relaxed and smiling, and your family was there. Like, find things, physical things that can help center you and bring you back. And again, just one of these kind of tips, tricks to kind of help refocus and bring you back into the world when everything is going on, as it will every single day. And again, practice these little things, but find something that brings you some joy and it kind of reminds you of centers you back into that feeling and that place of gratitude as well too. And then really the last thing on my list was reflecting on past experiences as well too. So I think a lot about my past. I don't dwell on it, but I do think about it and think about those moments in the past that I'm grateful for. This is kind of reflecting on the progress, how far you've come, the journey that you've been on. Again, my journey has been very interesting and unique, and there's a lot of good and a lot of bad, but I don't let it bring me down. I just think about the fact that I'm grateful that I did those things. I also think that I'm grateful that I got out of a lot of things alive, unharmed, without, a million things could have happened. And I really do think about those things and just be like, man, I am lucky. I am happy. I'm here. I'm doing things that I want to be doing. And I'll verbally say those things to me, sometimes out loud, sometimes just myself, and just go, pretty crazy. Kind of wild how we got here. Didn't expect it to kind of go this way, but wouldn't want to change it for anything. And I think it's okay and important to reflect on those things as well and just recognize where you've come from. For me, in the last 12 or 18 months, I went from, extremely stressful startup, kind of the beginning of a divorce, and I was a stepdad and, a new dad, and it was just a lot of things. And I'm 12, 18 months later, my life looks completely different. Completely different. I'm in better shape. I've got new relationships. I've got new skills in terms of communications and kind of healing things with family and friends as you've kind of come through these things. And it's like, I would have never been here had I not gone through that. And it's tough to think that way when you're going through it. And that's why it's just so important to try and pause when you're in those challenging times and focus or shift your frame, reframe your brain on some how you view those things. But man, it's really neat. And if you do kind of work the process, take some of these steps, try and implement them into your life, I think that, and it doesn't take 12 to 18 months, that's just the course of all the super stressful events in my life, that at the end, you're going to go look back and go, wow, okay, this is neat. I mean, part of it, half the time when I get on this podcast and I'm going, I can't even believe I have the insight clarity to kind of share some of these things as well too. And I'm just grateful that I have this microphone and team here that helps me kind of put all this together, because it's like, wow, I mean, who would have thunk it, right? Who would have thunk it, 18 months ago when I was sitting there, so just depressed and angry and stressed and blah, 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 blah. But time, effort, focus, and a lot of gratitude later, things can happen, and things can happen pretty quickly. So pretty neat. Gratitude's just been on my mind a lot. I know it gets bounced around a lot. There's a million different ways. Just put in gratitude into the Google, and you're going to find ways from gratitude jars to walks to journals to rituals to exercises. There's a million different ways to do it. Take a couple. Try a couple. If they don't work for you, just keep trying new things. But I just think anything that can kind of bring you back on a daily basis to you're able to kind of incorporate this more into like a regular practice. Just use some little tools, cheat codes, life hacks, whatever you want to call it, to kind of bring you back there. So, well, I hope everybody got as much joy and gratitude from listening to this as I had sharing it. As I was preparing this week, I was like, man, I hope this really lands with folks, because this is maybe one of the more important topics that I can do. And again, what I always like to do here at the Unlicensed Counselor, solution-focused counseling, actionable items that you can take today, hear this in your car, go home at dinner, talk to your wife, talk to your kids, put one or two of these into play and see what happens, right? The goal is to just kind of take some of this and turn it into some actions. As always, if you hear something that you like, think maybe you got a friend or family or group chat that maybe would like to hear this or could benefit from hearing on this. I was talking to a friend of mine who's on a bachelorette party and sent the AAs to everyone, kind of clip to her group afterwards. I think that was an episode or two ago, and I got a good kick out of that. So, look, if you're thinking of people that maybe you'd like to have a conversation around gratitude, maybe this podcast is the one thing that could help kick it off. So I invite you to follow us on Instagram at The Unlicensed Counselor. You're going to find us on all the regular social channels as well, too. Hit those three little dots in iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast and share it with a friend as well, too. Well, that's what we've got today. I am so grateful that I got to share this with everybody out there in the world, and I hope you enjoy what you heard. My name is Steve Moak. I am the Unlicensed Counselor. Until next time, thank you very much.